Hello beautiful friends. Today I want to share with you a really powerful technique in coming out of the mind, coming back into the body and allowing ourselves to relax and heal our nervous system. And I believe this technique is probably the most powerful meditation when it comes to relaxing and regulating the nervous system. So the technique is called the do nothing technique, and it comes from Zen Buddhism, and it does exactly what it says on the tin, right? So the idea is to practice doing nothing. And actually, it's a skill in and of itself, because a lot of the time when we think of doing nothing, we actually associate that with actually doing something. Normally, it could be associated with watching television, sat on the sofa, scrolling on your phone, and just not achieving much. But actually, the idea of doing nothing is to actually merge with the emptiness or the spaciousness that exists within your direct experience. That's actually the goal of do nothing, of the do nothing technique, sorry. It's more of actually a recognition that what exists inside of us is a field of spaciousness, a field of emptiness, and within that emptiness there is healing, there is calmness, there is peace. And to do so, we have to almost stop action. So it's actually really tricky. And this technique actually is more challenging for meditators, funny enough. So people that have experience in meditation or breath work or just any form of spiritual practice, because we are essentially training ourselves to do an action, right? Whether that's to self-inquire, to focus on our breath, or to scan our sensations. There's still an action within that. And the idea of this is to remove all action. And it's really interesting because once we remove all action, all that is left is spaciousness. And obviously, once that spaciousness starts to come forth into our experience, it feels as though we start to merge with it and realize that actually it's kind of a flavor of who we truly are. And by osmosis, just by getting better at this skill, we we naturally start to calm our nervous system down, and we naturally start to quieten our mind without actually having to do anything. And it's actually a real skill. It's counterintuitive because to do nothing should be, in a sense, our birthright. We should be able to do that naturally. But it's funny, we have trained ourselves to do action all the time. So because obviously we're constantly doing things, we're training ourselves to kind of do the opposite of what we originally came to this earth to do, which is just to rest in our natural, true nature. So one tip also I would give for this practice is to cultivate it. And what I mean by that is to try and cultivate the essence of meditation or the essence of calming down your nervous system in your life. So what we can do as an example is build up to the practice. So rather than just, right, I'm going to now go and practice the do nothing technique and I'm going to sit for 20 minutes and not do anything, rather than do that, actually what we can do is we can build into that state. So as an example, I like to do this technique in the mornings about an hour after I've woken up. For some reason, I find I'm a lot more naturally attuned to sitting and resting in my being in the morning. I'm not sure why, but that's just part of who I am or how I'm wired. So I would spend the first hour maybe going for a walk in nature, maybe read a little bit of a book, listen to some relaxing calm music could be a good example. And then I would slowly transition into the meditation, or maybe I might do some breathing exercises and I'll slowly soothe into it rather than go from, say, hell and a very chaotic environment to then suddenly go practice it, because that might be too much of a leap to suddenly go from being full in mind and chaos to then suddenly, boom, trying to just completely switch off. It doesn't, you see, there's a little bit of a battle between the two going on there. So it's better to just like soothe our way into practice. And actually that's a great tip for anyone who wants to practice any form of spiritual pursuit, is to actually, how can we cultivate meditative states just throughout our life, whether it's going through nice walks, reading, not looking at our phone, things like that. These little things can really help as well. So without further ado, sorry, let's actually practice the do nothing technique. So essentially all we have got to do is sit down and have an intention, and that intention is to essentially do nothing. And it's really interesting because we're not here to try and notice, we're not here to try and observe anything or become awareness or to scan anything or to try and get a goal. It's to just be, right? To just exist, to do absolutely nothing and to rest in our natural state. So as I said, let's soothe ourselves into the practice by doing a small little bit of pranayama. So what I recommend doing is we can do a few breathing exercises and then we'll slowly go into the practice and we'll just sit for 10 to 20 minutes. So we just find a comfortable position and we'll breathe in through the stomach, out through the chest, pause and then release. Do that 5 times and then we'll go into the meditation. So we'll sit down, breathe in through the stomach, pause and then release through the nose. Breathe in, pause, release. 3 more times. Last breath in, pause, and then release. Slowly relax into our being. Just hold the intention of doing nothing. If some things do appear in our experience or our mind's chaotic, our intention is to do nothing about it. It's just to exist. Now to just slowly open your eyes, ease yourself back. Thank you so much for sitting with me and making it through to the end. And if it's your first time practicing this technique, you might notice that actually doing nothing is a skill and it requires refinement. We're so used to doing things, we're so used to constantly living by action. And to suddenly stop that and add a break in what we're so used to, it can be difficult. And all different emotions can come up, and our minds can get very tricky with this technique, and it likes to trick you into thinking you're doing nothing when actually you're practicing some form of technique. As I said earlier, this technique is actually more challenging for people that have had experience with meditation actually. But it's something we can naturally just flow into, as I said earlier, if we can cultivate a more peaceful, mindful experience leading up to the practice. We'll definitely find we're able to practice that technique a lot easier. And also that goes for how we come out of the practice as well. So once we finish the practice, it's wise to spend 10-20 minutes just easing yourself back into life. So it's applying this integration aspect is really, really important. And again, this goes for all techniques, all practices, any form of meditative or spiritual practice. It's always wise to ease yourself back in to the world, just slowly, but surely, and gently as well, of course. So thank you so much for making it through. Please do practice this technique. It will work wonders for calming down your mind, calming down your nervous system, connecting back in with your true nature, and connecting back in with your body as well. Because when we do nothing, we come out of our minds, we zoom out of our minds and just connect into our body, which is a great feeling. Thank you so much, and I'll see you soon. Cheers.